On June 16th of last year, I arrived in the Reykjavik airport looking like someone had just punched me in the face. I can't really remember how many hours it took me to get from Northern California to Iceland, but I do remember the way that the jet lag made my face swell up in this very strange, asymmetrical manner. Passport security was very gracious, and they pulled me aside and asked me to take off my glasses and smile and frown because they could not see the resemblance between my 20-year-old jet lag face and the beautiful, sunburnt, pubescent 16-year-old mugshot staring back at them on my passport security booklet. I arrived in Iceland with a suitcase, a camera, and then a small crumpled piece of paper with the telephone number of the woman who was supposed to pick me up. I had been hired by a travel company to traverse across Iceland for the summer as their photojournalist, shooting glaciers, volcanoes, waterfalls, and so much more. In the span of 2 months, I had jumped off 50-foot cliffs, snorkeled in tectonic plates between the Earth's surface, photographed geothermal hot springs, and so much more. But how did some random 20-year-old girl end up in Iceland or even pick up a camera in the first place? My name is Natasha Azevedo. I'm a third-year undergraduate here at UC San Diego. I'm incredibly confused on why I'm giving a TED Talk, especially when there are master chefs and CEOs and hip-hop artists and harpists who chill with Usher at the Grammys here today. Yesterday, I slept and ate top ramen with a plastic fork on my bedroom floor. So who's to say we are not on the same level? There is not much you need to know about me. Mother says I'm an observer. My sister, a wordsmith. Alicia collects nouns and verbs as if they were specks of dust in the air, intricately weaves them together into a blanket of imagination and throws them over my shoulder at nighttime. Her stories have always kept me warm. Apparently, I spent the first 5 years of my life hiding under my mother's armpit, staring unresponsive at people as they asked me questions, because Alicia just talked for the two of us. But perhaps all the accumulated years of staring allowed me to take in the visual world and kind of see everything around me. And when I say see the world, I'm suggesting some metaphorical, really deep, existential meaning, because in actuality, my eyesight is terrible. It's like a 90-year-old man. A few years ago, I picked up a camera, took some photos of pumpkins in my backyard, thought they looked really aesthetically pleasing, and proceeded to shoot really deep, meaningful, existential things for the next 2 years, like flowers and puppies and shrubs. It wasn't until the ambassador of Finland paid for myself and 13 other high school students to go to his country for 3 months that I realized that travel and photography were truly interconnected. Before long, it turned into somewhat of a hobby, which has now turned into a passion. Photography has really characterized my experience in over 16 different countries, has allowed me to connect with each and every person that I meet, and more recently has allowed me to tell stories with a female voice, subsequently turning my camera into an object to empower young women. In his notorious book, some say noteworthy, I say notorious, The Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell states that in order to become an expert at something, you must practice it for 10,000 hours. Let me preface this TED Talk by saying that I've utterly failed at that mission, because that is so many hours. But here's what I know. I know that photography stops moments. I know that images can change the course of history. I know that a good photographer never turns her viewers away, but makes them ask questions, scream out for change, knocks the breath out of them again and again until a photograph becomes a story. Now, photojournalists, they have an incredible capacity to tell stories. And their cameras are their tools, their weapons. They can inform us and change our minds. And pictures can speak to us in ways that words sometimes cannot fill. I can't really accurately describe to you in words this young girl's face upon hearing the news of her sister's death at the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings. It's difficult to put to speech this paramilitary recruit's face on his first day of service, but I think the hardest thing for me to describe would be my grandmother's face at my uncle's funeral. I don't remember much, but I remember the way her knuckles turned white, clenching and unclenching the church pews, a photograph I could have captured, but at the time didn't feel inclined to. Yet photography remains incredibly beautiful, and it allows us to capture certain untouched corners of the world. I was in Skaftafell, Iceland, where the glacier lagoon is located when I captured this photo. And at the time, I knew that in the future, these glaciers may not exist. Hopefully, this couple's love does not melt like the glaciers, because after this date location, honestly, all downhill from here, I was on assignment to shoot National Geographic's top 10 treks to do before you die in the Icelandic highlands. When I caught this photo, I had been crossing a river of melted glacial water up to my waist, and I was doing jumping jacks on the side of the road to reduce the risk of hypothermia when they all just kind of ran by. It's important that we capture things that matter to us, because those things, what we love, they're ephemeral, they're fleeting. And you can tell merely in a glance what a photographer cares about. There is something else that I care about besides creeping on people at glacier lagoons, and that is women. We're pretty cool, if you get to know us. But how are women and photography interconnected, and why does it matter? In the documentary Misrepresentation, Jennifer Newsom states that American teenagers spend a minimum of 10 hours a week online. Now, our generation has zero attention span. We are like squirrels surrounded by nuts all the time. And in order to get information, we rely heavily on images. Yet our perception of women has been largely formulated by the media, teaching young girls that their value, their worth is dictated by the way that they look. We have been thrown in cages on the ground, half naked in Carl's Jr. commercials at the Super Bowl. And over time, these images of women have become the standard to which we uphold our advertising. It is a powerful tool, yet a derogatory one that repeatedly teaches us that the commodification of women in front of the camera is somehow normal. In actuality, it is not. Now, there's an interesting test called the Bechdel test, which is essentially a way to measure gender inequality on film. It's very simple. At some point in the movie, you take two female characters, get them together, and see if they have a conversation about anything other than men. I can do that. We like film, we like traveling, we like food, we like bioengineering, math, science, taking over the world. Wait, what? But Entertainment Weekly found that if you put the 2009 Academy Award Best Picture nominees to the Bechdel test, only half would pass. Movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, Lord of the Rings, Shrek, Dark Knight, Toy Story, none of these movies passed this test. From 2006 to 2009, not a single female character in any G-rated family film pursued medical science or law or politics. The New York Film Academy revealed that 1/4 of women become partially nude on camera, that only 10% of our movies have equal male and female ratios on cast, and that in the last 9 years, the percentage of teenage girls depicted as partially nude has increased by 33%. I have grown up in a generation where only 30% of on-camera speaking roles belong to women, and yet the rare times when they actually speak, the depth of their stories and the range of their concerns are incredibly shallow. Now, we spent a lot of time examining the objectification of women in front of the camera, but how often do we look at women behind the camera? Out of about every 5 males in Hollywood behind the camera, there's 1 female equivalent. And Huffington Post revealed that in 2013, the top 250 films, only 6% were directed by women. The Academy Awards has been going on for 87 years, and there's so much wrong with the Academy Awards. But in 87 years, 0 female cinematographers and only 1 female director actually ever won an Oscar. But at the end of the day, it's probably inevitable because it's a golden man. In the United States, 51% of the population is female. There are evidently stories missing. Perhaps one of the plethora of reasons why women are objectified in front of the camera is because there are no women behind it. I think that young girls who become photographers, videographers, directors, it allows us to tell more 3-dimensional stories of women. Now, when we think of gendered jobs, popular photography, international photojournalism, they don't really come to mind. But there's this surprising dichotomy that exists. National Geographic pulls from about 60 freelance photographers every year to create their issues, and last year they only used 12 women, 13 in the future because maybe they'll hire me. But one of the biggest critiques against sending women out into the field as photojournalists is that their safety is at risk. This is a completely valid critique, but increased presence of women on the front lines in recent years has actually shed some light on incredible issues. The Guardian released an article entitled "Women on the Front Lines," where key female photojournalists said that in certain Middle Eastern countries, being a woman meant having access. They were more readily invited into the homes than their male counterparts, subsequently illuminating stories like female genital mutilation and child marriage. One of those interviewed, Maggie Stieber, said that it was actually kind of an advantage being a female photojournalist because you were always underestimated, you were always invisible. But when you're invisible in a room, then the subjects let their guards down, and you can photograph them when they're most true. Why don't we look at some more pictures taken by women photographers? This is by Jodi Cobb. It is of women who work as prostitutes in Mumbai. Her commentary on the picture: I wanted to produce images of victims without re-victimizing them. This next photo is by Stephanie Sinclair. It's a lieutenant in Yemen's all-female counterterrorism unit. This last one is of mothers and her 2 children. It's a recent project, a photography campaign entitled "You Are Beautiful." And mothers can provide captions to each of their portraits, and a lot of them made commentary on the perceptions of their own bodies and how they created miracles with them. All of these photographs create multifaceted, interesting, complex stories of women, and they're all done by female photographers. Now, artists create from who they are, and gender is an essential part of that identity. I have grown up in a household teeming with strong women, and it's time that I use my camera to tell women's stories as well. This year, I was in the Vagina Monologues at UC San Diego, and these incredible women let me take their portraits, talking about sexual assault, domestic violence, gender inequality. As the very quiet sister, I've always struggled to vocalize my thoughts on things that I am passionate about, especially the female story. Only now am I realizing that photography is my voice. I've taken thousands of pictures of women, and sometimes when I give them 300 prints back, they only feel beautiful in 3 of them. I've been asked to Photoshop weight loss, airbrush, pimples, remove wrinkles. Am I capable of doing that? Yes. Do I do it? No. As a photographer, you learn that the imperfections are what make the photo really radiant, and their wrinkles are battle scars of wisdom and life. Now, TEDx is in focus of what we are in search of. I am in search of young girls who are willing to pick up cameras. I'm in search of the day where female directors are winning Oscars for movies that actually have equal male-to-female ratios. Talking about women in the media makes me want to have conversations that actually pass the Bechdel test. And looking at international female photojournalists, it really makes me want to use my camera as an instrument of change rather than a device to completely solidify our commodification. Now, in the future, I actually may hit the 10,000 hour practice mark. And after I track down Malcolm Gladwell and make him give me a really big high five, we should probably all come back here because I might be semi-wise by then. Right now, I'm like 1/8 wisdom, 7/8 child. Hopefully by then I will stop eating top ramen, I'll have a career. I'll probably be a better rapper than MC Jin. No, not have any. But once again, at my young age, there are some things that I do know. I know that girls my age, my friends, my peers, we've been taught to censor our bodies, our minds, our art. I am in search of a day where young women starting their sentences or their questions with the words, "I'm sorry," because I don't believe that they should have to apologize for their opinions or for their inquisitive minds. When did we stop telling girls that they are allowed to take up space? Female photographers enable women to fill some of that space. They can illuminate and shed light on incredible issues and make audiences realize that the voices of young girls have been lost along the way, and that photography can be the chorus so desperately needed. I once had a boss from South Africa who looked at my camera one day and said, "That's a powerful weapon you have there." Only now am I realizing just how much so. If you pick one up, you'll see. Thank you.